Hello, guys and gals, and welcome to another episode of Unique Items. Today, we're going to be going over an old pair of boots. They're called Penitent Greaves, and they've been updated for 1.50. I think we're at 1.51 now, but it hardly matters. They didn't change anything for the Uniques in 1.51. The Penitent Greaves have always been some interesting pairs of boots that have been utilized across many characters, but now they're even more interesting. So first off, they give you evade grants 125% movement speed for 2 seconds, which isn't really like the one that people really enjoyed, but they also added in now invades grant unhindered for 2 seconds. Now, unhindered is a new modifier that they've been adding into equipment that basically makes it so that you can run through enemies. It is different than some of the other effects that they had in the past, and it basically just means that you are now, like, literally unhindered for that particular time period, so you can actually run through monsters. You notice, like, when I am, let me just get the multiple dummies on here. When I'm trying to run through these dummies, I have to run around them. I can't run through them. However, when I evade, I can now run literally right through them. So you're going to basically get the ability to escape dangerous situations extremely easily when you evade now, for at least 2 seconds afterward, which is really nice. On top of that, we also have the movement speed bonus, which this one is actually greater affixed at a 37.5, which is pretty crazy. But of course, if you find a regular pair, it's not going to be that great. But that is what you can expect if you get a greater affix on these, which is pretty insane. On top of that, we also get a critical strikes against chilled enemies. So 6% critical strike chance against chilled enemies. I mean, it's nice to have a little bit of crit on boots. I mean, people do like Asus heirlooms after all, but it's not quite 40% like the Asus are. But it's still pretty nice little bonus there on the boots. We also have a bonus to chill potency of 41.5 to 55% chill potency, which is just going to feed into the way that this works and also any other cold effects that you might be using. If you're using these boots, you're probably going to be a cold build anyway, so it's going to help you a little bit to make your chills more powerful. It also has cold resistance, which I don't really particularly care about because most of the time I'm capped anyway. But if you are on a character that's having issues with resistances, it could be mildly helpful. Then the real meat and potatoes of this particular item is you leave behind a trail of frost that chills enemies. You also deal 25%, up to 25% times more damage to chilled enemies. And this is going to be really nice because it's going to just chill everything around you constantly. The chill also counts as a crowd control effect if you're trying to get crowd control multipliers. And on top of this, chills can also lead to a monster being frozen, which is also interesting as well. So you could end up getting freeze multipliers as well. The flavor text on these says, remorseful devotees of the Cathedral of Light must undertake a grueling pilgrimage journeying across the frigid glacier known as the Serek Rapture. Only then may their gravest sins be forgiven. Now, when you put these on, it's very obvious what's going on. You literally get a trail of ice behind you as you freeze the ground, literally in your wake. And the freezing effect that you have, it trails behind you pretty far, and you can make some donuts on the ground, because why not? Yeah, donuts are delicious. Now, when you get near a monster, they're going to instantly be chilled by the effect that you are giving to them. So they're going to change in appearance ever so slightly. For instance, from the standard appearance, as you can see there, to the chilled appearance, which kind of like turns them slightly bluish and makes it obvious that they have been chilled. Now, if you run around them enough, the chilling effect can stack on the target till eventually they become frozen, as you can see, because chilling does stack to become freezing effects at a certain point, which basically means that you're just applying a constant stagger effect to bosses and things as well. Now, unfortunately, because chill is not really that effective against bosses to stagger, and if you guys are really interested in finding out more about this, I do have a video on my channel where I go over stagger. You could probably just Google stagger testing, and you can probably find it. But the moral of the story is that chill doesn't really apply very much stagger to bosses, so it's very ineffective for staggering. Freeze, however, staggers bosses very well, but you won't get a freeze effect on a boss because chilling doesn't stack on bosses to reach the freezing level. I know, it's stupid. However, these boots do what they were meant to do exceedingly well. They provide you with a permanent chilling effect, and if you are a melee character, you will always be within melee range, applying this chilling effect to the target. And this chilling effect is obviously going to be also freezing them, and it's going to give you a multiplier to your damage versus those chilled enemies. So every single enemy that you fight will have a 25 times multiplier on them if you're wearing a perfect pair, because they will always be chilled when you are nearby, because you always have a chilling effect underneath your feet. And if you have multipliers that work based on crowd control effects, since chill does technically count as a crowd control effect, it will also apply to that too. Now, important to note is that chill is not a slow. I know, it's weird. Slow is a separate crowd control effect than chill, and they are not the same. So if you have something that requires a slow, chill will not fit the bill. And if you have something that requires a chill, slow will not fit the bill, and vice versa. So it's kind of an oddity. All in all, Penitent Greaves, the changes to Penitent Greaves are interesting. I mean, adding in the critical strike chance is kind of neat. The unhindered definitely makes them a hell of a lot more useful, obviously, to get out of dangerous situations. So you can run through large packs of monsters that might be blocking your escape. And the multiplier with the 25 times is always going to be useful. It is still going to be active when the bosses are staggered, by the way. So whenever the boss gets staggered, you're going to get that 25 times as well. It's just not going to apply to the boss when the boss is not staggered. So keep that in mind. I think they're pretty good boots. I think a lot of the newer boots, like the Tragul's boots and like the Rakanoth's Wakes and some of the other boots that have been coming out, like the Beastfall boots and the Boots of the Savage, Greaves of the Empty Tomb and whatnot, have been really giving Penitent Greaves a run for their money in competition. There are definitely still some builds that can get good use out of these, especially if you're doing a lot of cold damage, like a sorceress with cold damage, or if you are a cold rogue using the cold imbuement, or maybe you got the icy alchemist aspect, or maybe you're, like a necromancer who's utilizing, say, something like the Bloodless Scream, which I'm pretty sure I got the Bloodless Scream in here somewhere. But, in general, when it comes to these items, especially when you're dealing with such a large number of chilling and freezing effects and all sorts of other stuff, you can stack them together and you can get better benefit. So if you have something that's chilling, like Penitent Greaves, and you add on another item that's chilling, the two are going to stack together and you're going to freeze things more often because you're going to have two different chilling effects stacking cumulatively, and you can actually get more and more of that. Also, on top of this, freeze does still count as a chill, so if a monster is frozen, you can get it as well. So if you're utilizing something like, say, Frostburn Gauntlets, Frostburn Gauntlets have like up to a 60% chance to freeze enemies, and then it's going to have like a permanent, obviously, bonus for your Penitent Greaves as well, because any monster that's frozen is also going to get the bonus. And you don't have to necessarily be standing next to them either. Another interesting thing about Penitent Greaves is because it does have a trail, when you're running away from monsters, they are going to get chilled as they walk through the trail, which does make it very effective at kiting targets, as long as the target can actually be CC'd. Like if you're fighting the Butcher, for instance, who can't be CC'd because he's technically a boss, well, that's not going to do anything for you, really. Maybe provide a little bit of stagger, I guess. All in all, they're definitely very good boots, and they've gotten even better than their previous iterations. They're still useful in the builds that they were useful for, and they're still not useful in the builds that they were not useful for, so there's that. Anyway, as always, I do appreciate you guys and gals joining me for these fun videos. I plan on going over every single one of these, so do be sure to hit that like button and the subscribe button if you want to see more. And all the videos will be up in the members only section first before they are up in the like the main channel, because I could post them in the members. I could post all of them to the members only channel section first before I can post them to the main channel. That's just how it works. As always, thanks for watching, and keep watching.